third. Got my great friend, one of the best, one of my players, ex-players, great friend, probably one of the coolest people I've ever met, Sonia Rada, here with me this morning. Glad to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. And before we get started, again, because kind of early in the show, I just want to go over what exactly the show is, the final third. So the final third, Sonia, in case you didn't know, it's just, it's a forum, it's a platform where we can come and talk all things soccer, the development, coaching, everything, entrepreneurship, careers in soccer, more than the careers that just meet the eye, like coaching or physical training, but other things like marketing, consulting, everything like that. Ideas that we have to better the soccer community, ideas that we have to better each other. And I like to keep it, not that I like to keep it, but so far it's been mainly focused around the Maryland, Montgomery County areas, but, we also love to go international, of course, and also, national. So whatever, fits the mold, soccer, as broad as that can be, we'll love to cover on the show, right? So with that being said, I think having you on here will be extremely great because we get to cover soccer. Of course, we also get to cover international because you are like a international player. You were born were you born in Colombia?
No, I was born here.
You were born here, but to me, you are straight up 110% Colombian, right?
Some people might think different, but
really, nah. To me, you're 100% Colombian. Like, it's crazy. People that are born here, most people that are born here, they don't have the same values and ethics and like just overall feel that you would for somebody that's born from a different country, per se, Colombia, right? But I think you embody that like 100%. Like, I don't think you've ever like faltered in trying to fit in here. Like, for example, like me, I wasn't even born here, but I grew up here, and there's certain tendencies that I have that's like not anywhere close to Cameroonian. You know what I mean? But you, I think it's like straight up like you're Colombian.
I don't know. I think that like people like me, like my generation, like our parents came, we kind of like, there's this thing, it's like we're not from here nor from there, It's like you're here and like you're not like full, you don't really feel like you're fully from here.
100%.
But then you go to Colombia or like whatever country you're from, and then it's like, oh, well, I'm not really from there.
Yo, I'm the same way.
But I like, as I've grown up, I've really like learned to like embrace that. And like, I think, I love going to Colombia and everything. But one of my favorite things is when I come home and like you get to like Miami and you start seeing like, hearing the English, not that I'm like, I don't like the Spanish, but like you just start seeing like more cultures and like different people, and you're like, okay, like that's kind of like what I am,
Yeah.
But it's hard sometimes.
No, I feel you. It's funny because we're all like, me, you, even our producer, like Emeka, we're that generation where it's like we're in between, you know what I mean? And for like sure. I feel exactly how you feel, where you don't really feel like you belong in any mold. Like I'm kind of American, but I'm not, and I'm kind of Cameroonian, but I'm not, like, so it's kind of like we are our own people.
Exactly.
And there's something cool in that in itself,
really cool,
you know what I mean? Like, so that's pretty much that to me is awesome.
But it's cool that like, so us being like from multicultural, then we can relate to people like you. Like you're from Cameroon, I'm from like South America, Africa, but like somehow like we have a connection because we both feel that. So that just kind of like creates its own identity in a way. So. Oh,
but not just that. I think Colombia in itself, like, the last summer, I was in Colombia for a while, and I've been to multiple countries, and I felt so connected to Colombia. And I've told you this,
you told me that,
as far as like me being from Cameroon and having that feel, Colombia was the second closest thing that I've had to that. And, the culture, the food, how people are. And, while I was there, everybody kept telling me like Colombia is ranked like the like 5th happiest country in the world.
I thought it was
now.
The first happiest.
Is it the to you? It's the first. Yeah,
that's
but
what
no,
I heard.
It's like the 5th happiest country in the world, and like the like second best country to retire in. And like, correct me if I'm wrong. And I know you always hated this back in the day when we talking about Colombia, and I'm like, have you seen Narcos?
Oh my
like,
God.
and because that's my show. I love that show. But yeah, like not too long ago, Colombia was not an easy place to live in.
Yeah, I mean, I think like a lot of countries, there's difficulties with like I mean, it was like the drug things and all that stuff. I think it's progressed a lot, but a lot of times I think that like the image that's created in the media and stuff, like people will still ask now, like, you know, Colombia is dangerous, like this and that, but it's like, it really just depends. Or even like people talk about El Salvador right now, like, oh, like don't go to Mexico, don't. But like you talk to so many people who've gone there and like it's fine, cool. You know, it's just kind of like this image that's created in the media with like the negativity and all that stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was dangerous, and like when the first couple times, like the first time I went back there, it was like, okay, like just be like really aware of like around you and like don't wear gold and like things like that. It's definitely gotten better, but like as long as you're just not like flaunting yourself, you'll be fine, you know? I think so.
It's kind of like growing up, like I used to be terrified, not terrified, but like everybody was like DC. It's like, you know, you don't want to go to DC unless, you know, you're connected or blah, 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 blah. And like we would go to Go-Go's and stuff in DC, and it's not that bad. You know what I mean? It's like before I was like turning like the 5th grade, I'm like, wow, never cross over to DC if you want to stay alive. So get to like high school and stuff, it's like, come on, like people, it's just like you said, everywhere has their good places and their bad places. You know, you go to Cali, it's the same thing. You go everywhere, it's the same thing. So it's that kind of thing. So it was a little brief history, okay, a little, you know, geographic history there. So let's talk about you, okay, the woman. I was going to say the man of the hour, the woman of the hour, right? So tell me a little bit about you, like you know, we already talked about where you're from. You know, talked about you were born here. So like growing up here, you grew up in Maryland, right? I'm guessing you played soccer here.
Yeah, so basically, I think a lot of my soccer comes from my culture, right? Because my family, like, we're really close. And I just remember there's like 10 people in like my core, like, 9 and then me, right? It's like I have 4 cousins and then like their parents and then my mom and I, right? So basically, I just remember growing up and we would just play soccer like every single day, you know. Like we actually lived like in these apartment buildings. My aunt and her 2 daughters and her husband and my mom and I lived in one, and then my uncle and his wife and his kids lived in the other one, just like literally right across the street. That's so cool. And at the bottom of the hill there was like a green, like just open field, and I can just remember, I'm pretty sure it was like every single afternoon we would go out there and play. Just, I don't know, 5-on-5, I guess, because there's 10 of us. And those are, like, to me, just, like, those memories of just, like, growing that love for a sport. And also, out of my cousins, I'm the youngest one. So, and they all played soccer. So I think, like, growing up, just seeing all of them playing, it was just, like, supernatural to me to just, like, you know, as soon as I was, because I remember going to their games and, like, as soon as like I was old enough, like my mom like signed me up to like DC Stoddard, you know. And it was so fun. It was just so natural to me, and it was great. But like just growing up seeing like one of my cousins who I used to copy and do everything she did, she was on a travel team, and I remember like the first time she had like 2 uniforms, like 2 kits, you know, and I'd be like, yeah, I want that, you know. So yeah, I think that like, growing up, like that's definitely what like sparked my love for the sport, and it's just never left me since. Like
See, I could tell, like, one of the things which let me start off by saying this. It's crazy how, like, the smallest things, especially when you're growing up, the littlest things, the most minute things can have such a huge impact to where you end up in the future. Like, for example, like you're talking about just seeing your cousins with 2 different jerseys, and you're like, this is what I want. And now let's fast forward in hindsight, look at where you're at now, and you're like signing for this pro club and playing for that pro club and all this stuff, and it's like something as small as just seeing your cousin with 2 different jerseys could spark such a path that you're headed on. I think it's so cool
because she was like a travel team, you know. It's like no longer DC Stoddard, no longer like MSI like rec, you know. It was like, oh, that's cool.
And where's she at now, if you don't mind me asking?
She's actually living in Colombia. She went to college there, and then she came back, was working for a bit, and then she like moved back.
And was she playing soccer, college, things like that?
No, like so out of everyone,
Right.
like I'm the only one who still plays.
So you see what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
like, it's crazy how that works. Like, you know,
Yeah.
you're the youngest. You're not the one that starts off playing soccer.
Yeah.
You're not the one that starts off playing travel. You know, travel's kind of invested in this person, that person. Then in the long run, you're the one that like actually makes a career.
It's always the youngest, isn't it?
It is. It is. Like Pogba.
Oh, is he
Pogba.
the
I mean,
youngest?
all his brothers play.
Yeah.
But like Pogba, it's Pogba.
The
Nobody knows his older brothers.
Yeah, that's
but they're all good. But he made it. You know. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So you played DC starter.
DC starter.
Okay.
Yeah. That was fun. I just remember there was like no goalies, and it was co-ed, but I don't think there was like a set thing that said there has to be this many girls or this many boys. I remember being really like, you know, sometimes you get kids that just go on the field and they just start picking grass or something. But I was like not that. I was like so into it, you know. And I even, I guess like my compassionate side, there was one other little girl on my team. And she was like one of those kids, you know. I would like grab her hand and I'd be like pull her, like let's go follow the ball, you know. So those are like my earliest memories of playing like organized soccer. Then after that, I have a cousin who's 1 year older than me, and she was playing MSI rec, you know.
Yeah.
So then I think I joined her team. So I started playing like a year up just because I wanted to play with her. So that when I went to MSI like rec, I guess, and then I think it was like when I got to middle school that I had friends that were all on like this cool travel team, and I just like wanted to be on there. So that's kind of like how that progression started. Oh no, before that, sorry, I went to MSI Classic, which was supposed to be like a step above. That was an interesting time because once again, I was playing a year up because I wanted to play with my cousin, but everybody was her age, like 1 year older. So I specifically remember that they were all in 6th grade and I was in 5th grade. And that was like really awkward and like weird to me because they were all in middle school.
They get to see each
like,
other in school.
Well, not that, but like, you know, the transition from an elementary school to middle school is huge. Like I was still in like a classroom with one teacher and like they're all like experiencing boys and switching classes.
Multiple
and I have a locker and like all this stuff, and I just be like, I just went to PE class. Like, what, you know? So that was definitely like tough. Like I used to try and like almost like hide the fact that I was like still in elementary school, you know. It was so awkward. But yeah, so that, I mean, I don't know. So then so that team actually got like
promoted?
No, the opposite. Kicked off.
Like
not
relegated?
fired. Like they kicked me off the team. Like the coach
kicked you off, or did the team like?
No. The coach came up because I was really small. Like I mean, it's so funny. I'm like 5'9" now, but it kind of goes with the whole thing of like as you grow up, you know, you turn into something. But I was so small. And all the girls, like, obviously they're in 6th grade, you know, so they're starting to grow. Yeah. So I was like tiny. Like my cousin is so funny. She was like 2 feet taller than me. Now I'm 2 feet taller than her, you know, it's kind of funny.
Those experiences, you know, from a young age have a lot to do with where you end up with in the future. You know what I mean? And I think from a young age, you realizing that, damn, like, I get kicked off a team and I come back and I school them, like, you know, then later on in life, you realize adversity happens, bad things happen. That doesn't mean it's the end of the world. That means you just go find another route. You know, doors locked, you kick down the window, and you still get that end result. You know what I mean? If you want it, if you want it. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's so weird because honestly, I've talked about this, but I've never like thought about it like this. And like even same with you, but like I don't think you really understood what was going on, you know? But like as you grow up, you realize that like in more experiences in your life, you kind of just take that same mindset and it just like takes you farther, you know, because that wasn't the only time that like I was like pushed down from something, you know, and I don't know, you just kind of like put your head down and just worry about yourself. So,
and I think that's, for you and I could tell like with our relationship and what this episode of this podcast is probably going to be about, like the overall topic, I think is, how soccer teaches you a lot about life. Because you know, you were there when I first started my coaching career at the college level, which we'll talk about later. But I think as we talk in this segment, you will start to see how like you've taught me a lot about life through soccer, and I think probably vice versa, and how just like overall the people that we know and stuff like that, soccer has taught them a lot about life without you even realizing it.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that later. I want to continue about like, so you played in middle school. You finally got back to that team, the classic team. Where'd you go next?
So then that's when I went to like the cool club team that like a lot of my friends that like the ones I went to school with in middle school, they all played on that team, and it was just like it was a travel team, right? Like WAGs, belt WAGs was like a big deal back then. So that, you know, I saw them, and so I went to try out one day, and I remember being like nervous, but like I made the team. I feel like anybody makes the team, but whatever. And then I don't know, that's kind of how it started. So basically though, like for me, it's never really been about the club teams. For me, I think I got really lucky that like, so my mom and like my uncle, my aunt, like everyone, we all, like my cousins and I got transfers to schools in good neighborhoods, like in Bethesda, because our parents worked in Bethesda, you know?
Okay.
So we couldn't, like, my home schools were supposed to be in, like, I mean, no offense or anything, but it's like Wheaton. It's no secret that there's a difference between the education in one place versus the other, you know?
In BCC or something like that.
Yeah, so starting with elementary school, I got a transfer there because my mom, it's kind of funny actually. My mom used to like work in the houses in that neighborhood, you know? And so I remember, so that's how I got to go to elementary school in Bethesda. It's a Somerset, right? It's an incredible school, like equivalent or maybe even better than a private school, honestly, which I was getting a free education because it's public school, you know? So in all of that, and then I got the transfer to the middle school because like you just start going up the ladder, and my mom and our parents were still working in those areas. So so I think I got really lucky. So I was gonna say, like, my friends and I would walk home, you know, from school, you know, like there's like the bus kids, the ones that get picked up in the car, and like the walk home.
The walkers, yeah.
So I would like walk home. Meanwhile, like I'm walking with my friends, and like they would go into their houses. Meanwhile, I'm going to the house that my mom's like working at, you know. So that was definitely interesting, like humbling experience, you know. Yeah. Sometimes difficult to understand when you're like young, you know. But like as I've like grown up, I just like embraced it and like appreciate everything that my mom's done for me.
Dude, I remember. Sorry to cut you off. That's funny you said that, because I remember one time, one of the parents was dropping me off at my house from a game, and like I played when I got back to another NCSL team in Division 1. It was Damascus Fire. And everybody was rich. I mean, everybody was like filthy rich, right? So one of the parents was driving me home, and you've been in my neighborhood where like it's single family homes and all the way back to townhouses. So I was like, I don't want them to see I live in a small ass townhouse. So I told them to drop me off at some random house, right? And I was like, this is my house. And they're like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, all right, you can go. And then they were like, we'll wait to make sure your parents are there. And I'm like, nah, it's cool, you can go. Like, so I like go fake ring on the doorbell, and I'm like, bye. Like I wait for them by, and I'm like, you can leave, like get out of here. So I'm just standing on this random porch, like hoping so like they leave and nobody comes out and sees me standing there. But sorry, that was just a side note.
It's true. Like my mom was like cleaning the houses where basically like my friends lived, you know.
That's crazy. That's a crazy dynamic.
Yeah, but like because of that, like look where I got, you know. So it started with the education. The education I got was incredible. You know, I especially noticed it when I went to middle school, and like different elementary schools are coming into the same middle school, and like I never thought I was smart, but like not that I think I'm smart, you know, but I could I could tell very subtly, but like I could tell a difference between things that I knew and like other kids didn't know that were like started to come natural to me, because I think my school did a great job like teaching us and stuff. So anyways, okay, so I go to middle school, and in the same boat as like the education, I lucked out with the soccer because so I went to try out for my middle school team, and I made it. And it was, I think, through those moments in my middle school and my high school where I like progressed the most, because I got access to like playing with girls who were playing at like the expensive, like high club level. Right. So I was playing with them, but not necessarily on a club team where it was like I couldn't afford it, you know? So I think I got extremely lucky.
You're the best of both. You're getting the development without the cost.
Yes, exactly.
That's beautiful.
And I just, you know, even, I mean, I guess we'll get to it, but like, there's a lot of girls like me, like at Montgomery College and stuff like that, that weren't that lucky, you know, like they weren't able to go to schools or get access to like playing with, you know, certain players that just naturally when you're around better players, and they're better not because they're better, but they're getting better coaching. So naturally they become better, you know, whether they even like the sport or not, like they're going to those practices and they're getting touches on the ball. So you're just naturally going to get better, whether you like it or not. And so you combine that access that I had to this quality, like higher quality level of soccer, and you combine that with like my passion, and then it was just like, you know, it was just putting 2 and 2 together. So I remember, the middle school, and I was always like self-conscious, and I was like, oh, like I'm not good, like this and that, and like people, like I would always look at like the girls that were like better, or the one, you know, and I would always get like self-conscious. But like by the time, like, and we all played together up until high school, our senior year and stuff. By the time we got to senior year, like I was like dominant, you know what I mean? Like my growth level like went like this, whereas like, I'm not saying that they weren't good, but like they kind of just went like this. But like the amount that I grew was incredible.
So what's that accounted to? Is that like your passion? And
I think it's like my passion and like being able to play with them, you know? And like my coach, he was a good coach too. So I was no longer like with the dad coach, you know, things like that. And I mean, I did play on a club team, which like the club teams I played for weren't like the best, but I do remember I played on this one club team that had like a really good coach. Like he was a young guy. He like, you could tell like he knew. And so I think I grew from those two things, but I think I'll definitely say it was mostly from being able to play with those girls. Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, like I said, my club teams weren't really that relevant. Because it was expensive. Like you had to pay for not only like the season, but you had to pay for like the kits, like the warm-up stuff, the backpacks, like all that stuff, like travel
fees.
But like my mom,
fees.
oh my gosh, like my mom would work like 2 and 3 jobs to like be able to pay.
Oh man.
Yeah, like for everything.
Yeah, that gives me goosebumps.
I know, it just like brings like tears to my eyes just like thinking. And like she would like go to all my games, like
oh wow.
Yeah.
And I've met your mom's a great woman. She's always smiling. She's always, you know, that's beautiful. And like the last episode, we were just talking about how expensive it is to play soccer in this country and how a lot of kids miss out on it, and how we probably, you know, don't get to see a lot of Mbappe's. And, you know, we get to miss out on a lot of, you know, future Sonia Radas that, you know, just can't afford it, and their parents just don't have the means. Their parents might not even have the opportunity to even work 2 jobs, even though they want to be able to afford these things. You know what I mean?
And like once again, I just feel super lucky because remember like my core group of family. So like my mom was like working during the day, and then she would even go to school at night. But like I lived with my cousins, so like my aunt and my uncles, like they would take care of me. Like my aunt would pick us up from school, so my mom didn't have to worry about it. So just like I was really lucky to have like such a good support system.
Your
you know,
circumstances aligned, like the stars aligned for you. That's crazy.
But it like behind like all of that was like a lot of hard work, both from my mom, from like my aunt, like taking care of all of us, like just, you know, I don't know, I can't, like, it was just like that support system. And I mean, you talk about like how expensive it was. So I mean, I would play like on decent level club teams, but like I never got to play on like that club team, you know, like even if I wanted to. And ODP, like that was another thing. Like that ODP at our age, I have no idea how it is now, but like I know that at our age it was like a really big deal to like get you to play in college, to like exposure, this and that. But I don't know how expensive it was just to even try out, number one. And 2, I didn't even like really know about it, you know? So it was like that disconnect of like, our parents are immigrants, like they don't understand how the system is. Like I didn't know what I had to do to like play somewhere, you know?
Same here.
So
that's exactly what I think too. And I think like coming into our next generations are going to be the ones that really luck out, especially if they're into soccer, because now we kind of have an idea of what it's like. Like my parents had zero idea.
Yeah.
You know, they couldn't tell you the difference between MSI Rec and MSI Classic.
Yeah, because you don't know, you know?
I remember I had like ODP came knocking too, and it was for us. It was $4,000
to try out or for the season.
For the season,
okay.
And I was super excited about it. My parents were like, Phil, we just simply can't afford it.
Because literally, who can afford that unless you're like, I don't know,
right? Like you know, I'm not gonna say it, but you know, if you're living in Bethesda, you know, higher middle class, or
it's
you
like
know,
pocket change,
right.
you know, which is fine for them, but it's just unfortunate for like
for us,
you know, or not just even us, like people like us,
like
too,
us, or even worse than us, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so like I got to miss out on that opportunity, and who knows what that could have brought out, you know what I mean? And I think after that, I also took a hiatus from soccer, or like highly competitive soccer. That's when I was also in the phase of like football's cool because it's like the American thing, and I just wanted to get girls and be popular in school. So I was like, I'm just gonna play football then, you know. And it was kind of like to spite my parents too, because I'm like, I really want to do this, and they're like, we can't afford it. And I was like, we can find a way, and they're like, no. I was selling my shoes, selling my video games, and I got to like $200, and I was like, damn, I still need 3,800 more. It just wasn't, you know, feasible. So I was like, I'm just gonna play football, and that was a huge pivotal point in my life, because if I would have kept playing, you know, God knows where I would have been. And this is when I was still playing with guys like Daniel Ankara. You know, me and Daniel were like still. I remember me and him were like competitors. Like I was like, I'm better than you. He was like, no, I'm better than you. And I remember our team beating his team in penalty shootouts to make it to Region 1. And so that was about the time too when ODP came knocking in, and I stopped playing soccer. And that to me is my biggest regret in life. Yeah,
you actually stopped?
Yeah, I didn't play soccer for competitively. I still played like pickup, and I still played like I'll go like feature in people's games, like you know, like Classic or something like that, NCSL like fifth division. But I stopped like training and playing with all my friends who were like gonna go and play pro. You know what I mean? I was like, man, screw that. And I think that was probably one of the worst decisions I made in soccer. But anyway, it's not about me, it's about you. So yeah, you know what I mean? But yeah, it sucked. And that I really, if there's one thing that I want to change, is I want to make soccer affordable for more people, you know, and because you never know where that one star is going to come from. You know? And most likely, and if history repeats itself, that one star usually comes from, you know, the less fortunate people, because you know, this isn't a fact, but those people usually have a higher drive and a higher purpose that they want to serve. And a lot of it is maybe because I want to be able to afford this for my family. And also, it's also soccer is like a getaway for me. It's what gets me away from the reality of having so less, or having to do so much just to stay, you know, at the same, you know, rate as everybody else, you know. So that's where I think that drive comes from.
It's like, it doesn't come easy, you know what I mean? So you appreciate it and you like nurture it more, you know.
Right.
One of my cousins once told me that, like, I don't know, somebody like, they had their kids playing tennis or whatever, and like afterwards she went to like the instructor, and it's like, how can like I get like, they're, you know, they're practicing, like they're well off, so they're like going to these nice clubs and like whatever, they get like good training and blah blah blah. And she asked the coach or the trainer or whatever, like, how can my kids get better? And she was like, basically kind of like, think of like Serena Williams, right, coming from Compton, and you know, like it was like, I mean, I'm sure, I don't know if for her, but like, I didn't want to say anything wrong, but like the only way out kind of thing.
Yeah.
So the instructor told the lady, she's like, go put your kid, like go live and like not be well off, and then you'll see that there's like that drive, like kids that like come, you know. And I mean, I've been blessed to have like everything I've ever needed, you know, nothing more, nothing less, you know. But because like, I'd say because my journey hasn't been easy, like that's why I just continue to push, because it's like I've come like so far, and it's like been really hard at times, that you just like keep pushing. Whereas like maybe somebody who it might have come easier, nothing against them, you know, but maybe that's just not their passion, because like maybe they're playing because their parents want them to play.
That's a lot of things that I see.
You know, maybe they're playing because it's social, you know, because all their friends are doing. Maybe they're playing because they want to like play at a school that will pay for their education, but in reality what they want to do is get educated and go off and do, you know? Everyone's different, but like I don't know, like for me it's just that like this is like my love, you know? And so I've just like tried to pour everything, like all my energy into like doing something, you know?
No, that's true. That's very true. So let's talk about, okay, so I'm gonna fast forward through high school. You went to BCC. Okay, so you got through high school. You get to college. This is where I have the biggest question mark for you is why didn't you played club in college, right? Why didn't you pursue playing actual for a college team?
So I'm kind of hard-headed, you know, and it's so weird, like for some reason, I don't even know why. Ever since I was little, like I even have a poster that says like, what do you want to do in the future, right? And there's 2 things on there. One of them was I want to go to the University of Maryland. Okay. Second thing, I want to be a professional soccer player. I don't know why, probably because my older cousins went to Maryland, because maybe when I was in 6th grade, I watched Maryland win national championship in basketball. Yeah. I don't know why. Something in me, like I always, like Maryland was my dream school. Like I just wanted to go there. And
it's a really
even,
good school. It's a really good school.
It is a really good school.
I can understand that.
And I guess like all my cousins, except for the one rebel, you know, but the one that went to Columbia to go to school. Yeah. But all of my cousins went to Maryland. So even when I was in high school, I used to, like, they used to be like, hey, like, come, like, I'm having a party. So I would, like, in high school going to, like, college parties and be like, hey, this is awesome, you know? And, like, I just got to see campus. It was beautiful. It was, like, you know, we're, like, home is very important. So, like, I guess at that moment in my life, it was really hard to, like, say I want to go somewhere. Like, I could never... Well, I mean, I could, but, like, it wasn't really a question for me to go to California to go to school. Like, I just, you know, you want to be around your family and stuff. So Maryland happened to be, like, 35 minutes away from my house, you know? And so basically, you know, I'm like my senior year of high school, and I'm not on like a club team, so no one's really like looking at me. Like all I have is my high school team, which was good. Like we always competed. We won states my freshman year. Like, you know, it was like a good, so that, I mean, at least I had something. Right. And I remember my coach like spoke with the Maryland coach, and at one point he's like, oh yeah, like I'll give her a trial, or like maybe even let her walk on, blah, blah. He would like kind of like say these things. And then when like fall came, he just like, nothing. Like he just like stopped answering his phone. Like he just like stopped responding.
Your high school coach or the Maryland coach?
My high school coach contacting the Maryland coach. Yeah. So he kind of just like faked and was like, I mean, he was a really nice guy. And from what I heard, like throughout the years, he just had trouble saying no. Yeah. So instead of, I guess, up front being like, no, like I don't have space for her, I don't, you know, he just kind of like stopped responding. And so I just, like my coach told him, he's like, if she gets into Maryland, because this was like, you know, my fall of my senior year, he's like, if she gets into Maryland, she's going there. I got into Maryland, and then like he just like I don't know. So, and yeah, you're right. Like I mean, at the level that I was, I could have played at like a D1 somewhere else, but like I was just so hard-headed.
Towson, UMBC, that like all these other schools.
Yeah, I was just so hard-headed though. Like it's Maryland. Like I didn't see any other school. I applied to like I think 5 schools in all, and I was like, I don't even know why I'm applying to the other schools. It was kind of just like in case like I didn't get in, but like thank God I got in. But yeah, I was like, that's where I'm going. Okay. So I got in, that's where I went. And you know, someone told me once, I don't know who, but someone said, you want to go somewhere where if soccer wasn't like, for some reason you got hurt, like, you know, you get kicked off the team, whatever, you're still going to be happy. Right. And I guess I kind of listened to that. I don't know who told me that.
That's not bad advice at all, honestly. That was like
good advice. Even though it's weird because, like, for me, soccer has always come first, you know? Even, like, over education. Like, everyone says student-athlete, but for me, it's athlete-student.
Yeah. You know? No, I agree.
So it's weird that I actually even listened to that because, like, you would think that I would, you know, prefer playing soccer somewhere over going to Maryland, but I don't know. It's just my heart was set on it.
See, you're the second guest on this show in a row who in hindsight were like, God, I wish I took more time in thinking of where I want to go play or where I want to go to school and play soccer. One of my things as far as development in soccer in this country, which I hate the most, is that it's tied with school.
Yeah, it is.
So you end up making a decision for two vital things in life.
Very different things, too.
That probably should not be intertwined at all. You know what I mean? Like, how do you base where you're going to go play soccer based on the educational requirements? Or how do you base your educational requirements based on where you want to play soccer? That's so dumb.
Yeah.
Football, basketball, whatever it may be. You know, so that to me is one of my biggest, like, should not be happening. You know, I think it should be separate, but you know, whatever. So let's get to where you're at now, right? Because I think that's like the cool part. So college, which I mean, the rest of your life's pretty cool too. But you know what I mean. But where you're at now, I think is dope. You know what I mean. It was a real pleasure. Like I said earlier, getting to coach you when you came to MC from Maryland. Again, I think everything happens for a reason. So you not being able to play there and playing club, and then realizing, you know, hey, I could keep doing this. I really want to play soccer. Coming to MC, also at a point where I'm going through my whole thing of like, man, I should have made this decision in playing pro and but now I'm here at MC coaching and I'm not sure how this is going to turn out, and you're coming into like, man, I should have been playing, you know, competitive instead of club, and now I'm here at MC and I'm not sure how this is going to work out. And then we meet, and then you end up being captain for our team. We end up turning that season around. We ended up turning that program around because it was your year that, you know, MC was always a team that was good, but prior, for like 6 years ago, when they actually made it to nationals, they would always fall short. You know, semifinals of even regionals, they're losing. You know what I'm saying? They're lucky if they get a 500 record. And then we came in that year. You led the team as a captain. We started off rocky, which, you know, any change is always going to get worse before it gets better, like the Kuznets curve, right? So we started off rocky, ended up turning the season around, ended up going for like a 5-game winning streak, all of that stuff.
More.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
We started 0-4 and we ended 10-5-1.
10-5-1. So. Started to just dominate. You know, made it to one regionals, you know, semis crushed. You know, finals crushed it, made it to district. We're 1 game away from going to nationals, which is like, everybody was like, what? Yeah. How did this team do this with a coach that's like 25? And, you know, a team of girls that, you know, probably thought soccer is over for me. I'm just go to MC just to have fun. And now we're competing versus the number 1 team in the country at the time, which was Hartford, you know.
Oxford.
Oxford, sorry. Oxford.
Our number 2 team, I think. Number
2? Was it number 2? Well, they were... Beast, you know, we're competing for them to make it for a spot in nationals. We ended up losing in penalty kicks, you know, and it was a game that we dominated. Everybody, blind people would tell us we dominated that game. You know what I mean? But I think that just set this kind of
like the
standard, and not just that, got the ball rolling for you and I, as far as my coaching and your playing, and then now 2-3 years later, you know. MC now, it's like we're not good unless we win regional. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? We're not. We just got moved to Division 1. We went from a Division 3 team to a Division 1 team now. You know what I'm saying? You're at the point in your life where, like, you know, you just got done with a contract in Switzerland. You know what I mean? You played. You were in Colombia playing pro. You know, where your national team. You trained with your national team. You're a national team pool player. And then now, you know, congratulations again. You know, you just signed a pretty dope contract, and it's over in Cyprus. You know, you're traveling the world, you're playing pro soccer. So now let's tie that in from where we first started seeing your cousin with the 2 jerseys and saying, yo, like, I want to play travel soccer. And now you're a high level, you know, professional soccer player. What back then could you say led you to this? What's one thing or 2 things that you would have changed, you would have did differently? What's one thing that you say, man, this is one thing that I don't want to change that has gotten me here? And going forward, if you had advice for anybody else that's kind of like in your shoes, or even anybody else that wants to pursue these goals and these dreams that you want, what could you give them?
Okay, that's a lot of questions.
Let's see if
I can remember. Okay, so you said, like, what kind of from there, like watching my cousins kind of brought me to where I am. I don't know, honestly. It's just like the passion. For some reason, I just like love playing. Like it's just how it's been. And I guess like even like watching the World Cup like in '99 when the US won like dramatically in penalty kicks and things like that. I think just like growing up seeing that stuff, I just always, I mean, everyone says that, you know, they watch this and this and this and this, but like there's just something in me that like I can't stop, you know. Even like that thing I told you I wrote when I was in 5th grade, like just knowing that like even at that age this is what I wanted to do. So I don't know, I think it's like just my fighter instinct, maybe going through adversity, which everyone goes through adversity, so like you can't really call it that, but just like the fact that I just keep going, you know. Because even like in the college thing, not being able to play for Maryland, like even all this stuff, like a lot of doors closing and this and that, but I just think that there's always a way, like if you want, you know. And you know, if like you said, one door closes, like you keep going and things like that. So I think it's definitely been like my fighter, just like competitive, you know how competitive I am.
Yeah, trust me, I know.
Like competitive instinct that just doesn't like let it go. And you say like if there's anything I would change, I just like, I know it's like cliche or whatever to say that, like, I mean obviously like if I could have played, maybe I'd be better than I am, you know, better, if like maybe more technical. If I had like better coaching, maybe I'd be like more, because I'm a defender, so maybe like if I had better coaching I'd be like better at like dribbling and like, you know, those kinds of things, things like that. But I can't say I would change anything, because if something changed, I don't think I'd be here. Like if something changed, if something made it easier, maybe I wouldn't appreciate where I am now. And I really believe that that's like how I've gotten here. Just like hearing a lot of no's, but like just waiting for like at least one yes somewhere. I don't think that I'd like be here, you know.
I think the first person to answer, I wouldn't change a thing because it's what got me here.
It is, dude, because like, you know, even the fact that I went to MC and like I just played at MC because I love soccer, and I was like, I didn't know what was gonna happen. I even met with the previous coach before you, and like I was kind of like, man, like whatever, but I didn't even care, you know. I was like, I'm gonna play. And then I remember when they told me he was leaving, and like we went in to meet you, and Io was the other coach. And I remember walking out of there being like so excited, because you're talking about formations and playing out of the back and like total 90 football and this and that. And I was like, yeah, like I don't even care what the level of anybody else is. Like I know that I can learn something from here. And it turns out that like that season changed me, because we had to go back down to the basics. And in going down to the basics, things that like, yeah, I mean, I can pass and this and that, but like I was super picky about like your technique and stuff. So going back down to the basics and like really like refining my style and like my touches and things like that. I think because your touches are what makes you a difference between like, if you can do something, you always say this, like in 4 touches versus 2 touches or 1, that's what makes you, that's the difference, you know? So I think all of that, like, I just like, I can't change it because it just, I don't know. It is.
No, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing.
But
so and so
I don't
now
know if I missed any questions, but
you answered all of them.
Oh, okay.
You did. Yeah, see, you answered all of them. So with that being said, I just want to say thank you for coming on the show. I think a lot of listeners would take a lot of insight from what you said, and you know, go away with a lot to work on, and to also to keep going if they are doing these things. One of the things that I can take from this conversation is passion is key. And whatever you're doing in life, you have to have a passion for it. And that passion will be what will get you through the adversity, like you're saying, whether it's money, whether it's location, blah, 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 blah. And that passion is also what will keep you going, right? So that's one of the biggest things. And so if you could just have one quick takeaway for the listeners, what is it?
Well, I guess going off of what you said, like, I think I showed you this quote once when we made brochures for it says, like, never go a day, like, if there's something that you love and you can't go a day without thinking about, don't give it up. you know? So just that, I mean, for me, it's soccer. Like every morning I wake up, I'm excited to play at the, you know, whatever it is. So I think like if there's something that people are passionate about, like just go for it. And like you said, because the passion will take you through everything. And then like for me also, like don't be afraid to like, you know, because for me, like I'm kind of paving the way in a way. And for me, I do it because I also think about the girls that we coach and this and that. And I'm like, if I can, like, I'm starting to meet a lot of people and I tell them this. I'm like, if I can make it easier for them, like, don't be afraid to, like, be the first one to take a step in, like, an untouched forest, you know? Because someone had to do it. Like, all those roads that are paved, like, someone had to walk there first.
That's very true. Damn.
Be the first.
That's a great takeaway. That's a really good takeaway. Yeah. Sonia, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
It's really been a pleasure. Good luck in your upcoming season at Cyprus. I'm like always looking forward to hearing great things from you, like you do everywhere you go. And to all the listeners, follow her SM Rada on Instagram, and just follow her soccer journey. Follow her at Cyprus. You know, we'll try to post stuff for her. Yeah, she's not a big social media person because she's so focused on soccer, but I think she's definitely somebody to keep an eye on and just to keep following. So again, thank you, and
thank you.
You know, God bless.
Thanks, you too.